So we started out with the large language models. You train AI with text-based information available across the World Wide Web, but an LLM can only go so far as we give you text outputs and some graphics. Can it animate in real time? Can you interact with AI created? Can you interact with that AI created world with current AI models? You can't. That's why, Tommaso, you are building the next generation of large models. So, give us a sneak peek into your world and tell us about the evolution of large models and what does it mean exactly?
Yeah, very simple. AI is fed by scraping information from the web. And, apparently we are kind of reaching at least 80-90% of scraping capability. Like there is no more to be scraped, right? These are also called 1D and 2D tokens, meaning it's the input of those large language models. Again, the language as the underlying model, right? Is feeding the information into the machine which is being trained, and then as an output you get 2D information, which is the text, the prompting, the famous ChatGPT and the perplexities and the clouds that we all love, right? It's amazing, right? And they have a very fast evolution, and they have been growing like never things that we have never seen before, right? But what is next, right? Where does it go, and where do we take it from there, right? Into something that is more immersive, and something that takes it beyond just the limitation of a jetbot, if you so want, right? So taking it beyond the limitation of a chatbot. So the future will be truly to be training machines, right? To be training drones, to be training robots, to be training any kind of truly mobility or autonomous vehicles, right? Well, why, Tommaso? To do what? Well, to do the mundane things that we don't like to do. Wash my dishes, right? That is amazing. Fold my clothes, right? Phenomenal, right? I mean, clean my home. Oh, awesome. Maybe take the dog for a walk, right? So yeah, that is basically where we are moving towards, right? And in order to do that, in order for machine to do that, right? Well, to do what again? To do that action, that job to be done in a safe way, in a proper way, right? Definition of proper here is that the actual machine understands the surrounding so that it can move within that surrounding, within the environment, in a yeah, safe and reliable manner. It needs to be trained, right? And that's when we step into the so-called large world model, right? So the large world model, simple to understand, is what words are to the large language models are footages, images, right? Or videos to the large world models. Now the large world models are targeting primarily machines to see, to view, to reflect, right? And to complete a job, right? So that you say, hey, if you see if you see a fridge, you open the fridge, and maybe you need to consider that there is something in the fridge that might fall out of the fridge, right? So that's basically the reasoning and advancement model, right? But the true fundamental question is, how do we bring the human being back in the loop? I mean, isn't technology really serving human beings? And we say, well, we are training robots to serve human beings. Yes. But how about the benefit of human beings directly having access to large world model? What does it mean for human beings, right? And so, with that in mind, our team of PhDs from the most renowned computer vision and AI universities, or professors that we have, you have the two team researchers and applied AI, right? We're putting our hats together. We've been putting over the last month our hats together and built a true large world model that is built for human beings on the edge, meaning really for smartphones, as well as obviously here smart glasses in the near future, so that it works and performs on the edge like human beings need. But the question is, for what purpose? Well, definitely not the purpose for human being to understand the real world. Einstein said a sentence that I actually discovered in 2026, and it really blew my mind. Said the most fascinating or less understood thing in humanity is that human being understand the real world, right? And that is so deep as a sentence, right? Because if you start saying, wait a second, what did the person say, right? So the person said that the fact of us human being, when navigating through the world, right, with all the things that could happen, with all the things that we are surrounded with, right, the fact that we understand the physicality, meaning we reason through the physicality in the right manner to go to somewhere, right, or have instincts on how to react to things that could react, that is understandable, right? That is not understandable. Which in essence, what it also means, Romeo, is that we as human beings are one, united with planet Earth. And that takes you from a logic perspective at a different dimension, right? You know how, why? Because human being and world is truly one, because you harmonize through it. Now, large world model, understanding and reading the real world, right? Having an understanding, a perception, a reasoning of the real world will supercharge human being, augment human being's life to make it more creative, to make it more pleasant, to make it more fun. Concretely, it means that large world model, if we inject in those, not just the fact of like for machine finishing a job, but for human being to create something that is more of meaning for human being, more fun for human being. And what is more fun? I mean, one of the main priorities of human being is to coexist with others, right? It's a necessity that we have, right? So how could you present suggestions through the large world models, right, that create a pleasant, fun atmosphere, and actions, right, on top of the real world, right? And so the large world model becomes now more of what we like to call a large experience model, because it combines the essence of the visual 3D 4D tokens, right, plus it's trained on behaviors that are aiming to complete a job for human being, that leads into socialization, that leads into interacting with others, that leads into, hey, let's face it, the physical world as we look at it right now, it's pretty plain vanilla, pretty static. What if we can interact more with it purposefully, and therefore also meet others that also interact with it, right? And so we're shifting basically from the democratization of intelligence, right, towards the maturity of physicality into truly the cognitive augmentation of human being, right? And so, but why is this important, Tommaso, right? And for those who are maybe following and if not, if this is your first video, you might eventually look into the other videos, the videos that we are doing very simply, because there is a huge problem that is knocking on the door here, right? Which is what? Social atrophy. So right now what we are seeing is that humanity is being lured and being understood so much from AI and all the chat GPTs of this world and the embodiment of those AI intelligent into machine, right? That we over the next years are going to literally have more confidence as a human being into those machines than into human beings. So, well, Tommaso, this will never happen. Oh, no, 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 sorry. This already has happened, because we see already what devices like mobile phones have done to us, right? Which led to social isolation, right? So we are already in the junior version, right? Impacted by the junior version of this phenomenon of us feeling more comfy, of being entertained and swiping, doom scrolling, or playing a lot rather than meeting, right? That's a fact, right? And now we're moving into an order of magnitude x-fold, which is the social atrophy through even a riper way of being understood from machines. So that will lead to the cognitive decline of humanity. And in simple terms, that means that, oh, as a human being, why would I meet another human being if the robot cooks for me, it makes the best dishes for me, it understands me? Yeah, so we're not training our muscle. Why do I meet a human being that has an own opinion? It doesn't understand me. It creates a friction, right? Don't we all have that already? So, and that will exponentially, truly lead us to a society that needs support in order for us to have and continue building the relationship that we have been losing through gaming and social media, and will be totally detached, or aggressively, and not to say totally, aggressively detached with AI companionship, right? And that's where the large experiences come into play. Basically, allow us to connect with people, places, and purposes in a way that we have never done. And that will allow humanity to stay human.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And just to take the conversation a little bit back, like what the large language models are doing right now, with the latest model from Grok, it has been like mind blowing so far, right? But when you truly think about the next step, the next step in the evolution of large models, which is like the world model or the experience model, that's just like we cannot even imagine how advanced those models are going to be. But what do you think the major obstacles right now that you are facing when you are working on it, and what do you think is a realistic timeline when we can have a working large model, large world model, or something of that caliber?
Well, in models in general, I think that we all align that data is the major challenge, right? And the most rare unit of impactful unit that is missing is energy, right? So as a country in United States, we need to invest heavily in energy. If we compare of that with other countries such as China, right, they're way more mature in what energy types they make available, because energy allows us then to compute more to compute faster, right? And then obviously then it gets into the compute itself, the computing itself. And on that end, at least in 2025, the United States is ahead when it comes to the technology that is made available to us, right? But in order um, to truly make advancements is data. And in order to get the data, obviously on the machine side of things, right, you have the either the generated data from user generated data, right, or you have the simulations that are generated, right, or obviously you have data that you can scrape from videos, right, which are then very, let's say, polluted. These are the three data types that you can use. So for the pre-training, you have kind of these data sets, right? But the question is, what is the most qualified data to train a large world model? And definitely the most qualified data is not to scrape things, right, or not to just have random data, but to have qualified data from the user. So you go into the pre-training with existing data that you do a big effort to train based on qualified data, even though it's existing data, right? But then you do the post training with user data, actual user data, right? So these are the fundamentals, energy in order to train, and then the data, right? And at the core of this, when you think of a large world model for human beings, right, is, okay, why should human being do it, right? Because if you drive obviously a Tesla and you sign an agreement to drive a purchase agreement for a Tesla, right, you sign automatically that you are feeding data, visual data, right, into the system, the Tesla system, which is amazing, right? And that's exactly how they're collecting data, right? Or the Google of this world that drive through this. So it's a very heavy lifting that needs to be done. And then the question remains, well, how are you rewarding, intrinsically rewarding, right, human being, and saying, okay, I want to contribute towards that technology or towards that ecosystem, and sharing my data, right? And these are the things that we all need to figure out. At Phygital, we have a very strong angle with students, a very strong intrinsic value component that students are motivated to do that in a small scale as we are right now, right? Because we are still in the closed beta pre-release phase, and but yeah, I think this is all going in the right direction and incentivize user to actually contribute towards the bigger picture of being part of the reduction of social atrophy. Yeah.
All right, Tommaso, as always, it's amazing having these conversations with you. Yeah, I'll see you again next week with another like very interesting topic. Till then,
Thanks.
ciao.